Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Dashboard Fridays. I'm Adam from SquaredUp, and today I'm going to be walking you through a dashboard I built for Azure Application Insights. So the starting point for this dashboard is just the Azure plugin. If you already got that set up, you probably already have access to build dashboards just like this. It's worth a caveat just to say this dashboard won't be available out of the box with the plugin because it's just too custom, right? Most of what's in Application Insights in this specific case is very specific to my application. There are some generic things, but at the moment this is a dashboard that I'll walk you through how to build it, but it won't be available as a sample at this point. So Application Insights, just for reference, if you're watching this video, you probably know all about it, so I won't go in too deep. Lightweight APM provided by Azure for Azure resources primarily. So in this case, I have an Azure Function app running on an app service plan, and I want to just make sure that it's healthy. So Application Insights is already connected to my Function app. There's already a bunch of data being streamed straight through App Insights, backed up into a log analytics workspace. And because I have all that data, I can build a dashboard like this pretty quickly. So I'll start by just walking through the tiles over on the left. So these are just using the Azure plugins built-in data streams. There's nothing specific. There's nothing too custom in this case. Availability test duration is just surfacing, on average, how long is it taking for my outside-in monitors to run. So I'm monitoring the app from Australia, the UK, and the US, and this is just surfacing the average test duration across that. I could split that out into 3 separate lines if I wanted to, but the app tends to perform pretty much the same from everywhere, so I'm just showing that sort of blended average. And below that is then the availability percentage, so not how long did the test take, but what was the outcome. Was it a successful test, or did it fail? Did it return a 400 error code, something like that? Because of this is also running on a dedicated app service plan, rather than the sort of new serverless SKUs available, I am showing some of those infrastructure metrics. So I've got available memory and CPU percentage for the app service plan that's sitting in the background. And the reason I chose to stack these as sort of four tiles in one column is so that I could make some simple comparisons. Does this spike here in availability test duration line up with any unusual looking lines across memory, CPU, anything that might hint at an infrastructure problem, a scaling problem, anything like that? And do these spikes in availability test duration have an impact on availability in general? And in this case, everything looks pretty fine. So what the rest of this dashboard then shows is data using our configurable data streams. And what they are is just it's a simple means to pull in data that we haven't been able to provide to you out of the box. So in this case, if I look at average request duration, this is a configurable stream, as denoted by this little pencil that'll let me go back in and edit that tile. And all you'll see here is a very familiar looking KQL query. So in this case, I've given it a name, request details, and I'm just basically calling the request table from the App Insights workspace and asking for a limited set of columns. I want the time frame to work based on my dashboard time frame, and the latest API version is fine, so I've left the rest blank. It's worth noting that all of the tiles on this dashboard, with the exception of this bottom middle one, are using that exact same configurable data stream. So these two on the right and these 3 sort of top middle are all just using that same data set in the background. I'm then just using SquaredUp's tile settings to edit what I'm seeing, basically. So this is just returning a big table of data. If I get rid of this grouping, we'll be able to sort of surface some of that data. If I switch this over to the table, you'll see something that looks pretty familiar as log events, right? There's timestamps, there's the columns I've asked for, and this is just the raw data effectively coming from App Insights. And what this tile was previously showing was I told it to just give me the average value from this duration column. So as you can see here, duration is showing me the duration of each of these things that are running within my app, and I just want to see an average number across everything in that column of data. Highest request duration is then effectively the same tile, but instead of using the average aggregation, I've chosen max instead. So just show me the highest number. So in this case, I just want to see, on average, how long do all of the components of my application take to run. and what's the longest running process. And in this case, it's an Azure durable function app. It can have long running services in the background. So I'm pretty happy with all of these numbers. This bar chart below is then, again, sort of kind of doing exactly the same thing, but as well as counting the number of events, I'm grouping them by the hour that they occurred. So just a simple way to sort of bin the results by the hour that they happened, and then just show me a count. And I kind of like the bar chart visualization as a way to show that and make it sort of nice and readable. The two donut tiles over here on the right, again, very similar things. They're just taking some data, they're grouping it by, in this case, the performance bucket column. The performance bucket just surfaces, it categorizes process running length. So in this case, most of my processes complete in under 250 milliseconds, which is great. There are a few sitting here in the 1 to 3 seconds bucket, so on and so forth. So just like the bar chart I just showed you, this one is just grouping by a different column and then counting some different properties. And again, this one at the bottom is doing the same. It's just grouping by the name column and then counting the number of entries. The only one that's really different here is this custom traces one. And again, it's just a configurable data stream using a KQL query. In this case, all of the logging that my app does, all of the custom logging that I write out from the application, I prefix every line with the word log, and then I provide a severity level to denote whether it's information or warning, that kind of thing. But it gets written into the traces table because it's coming from the application code itself. So in this case, this is just giving me all of my own custom application logs. If I was to drop this where message contains log filter, it would just get me everything from the traces table. But what I want to see here is specifically my logs for this application. So again, in that case, once I've got my data stream put together, I'm just grouping by message and then just counting them, so I can see the number of times these specific messages I'm interested in are being logged in this particular time period. And this, to me, is all just a meaningful metrics for me to understand how my app is performing. So primarily, this is it's a configurable data stream based dashboard using queries that I would otherwise have always been running in the Azure portal. But I've chosen to build a dashboard here in SquaredUp because now anybody can see it within my SquaredUp organization, and people don't need to have access to the Azure portal to do this. They don't need to understand the logs, queries going on in the background. I'm sort of providing the data I want people to see. And if I wanted to, I could turn on monitoring on any of these tiles, which would then, alert me if this number's too high or too low. Just to quickly show you how to make a configurable data stream. So I'm going to go into configure. I've got a bunch of scopes already sort of put together. So the one I'm looking for is called segment functions. And this will now bring up all the Azure data streams that are applicable. At the end of the list, and this applies to all plugins, not just the Azure plugin, any of these data streams you'll see sort of in italics with the plus at the beginning, this denotes a template, a configurable data stream. So in this case, I'm going to click query, and this is then just the same panel you saw before when I was showing you how those data streams were built. You can pick a name, you can drop in your own query, you can fix a specific time frame into this data stream, perhaps make it always return the last 30 days, always return the last 1 hour, whatever it is that suits. Or you can leave that blank, and the dashboard time frame will then sort of be in control of the data that you see. But if it works in the Azure portal, it'll work in here and vice versa. So if you do have a bunch of saved queries in a logs workspace somewhere and you want to visualize them and share that data out, bringing it across to SquaredUp is pretty easy. And once you've done that and you've saved it, your data stream that you've just configured will now be in this list just like all the others. So I prefix all mine with the word app insights just to keep them all together. So these are just those ones I showed you previously, where using the configurable template at the bottom gives me this new sort of data stream that's saved. I can then reuse it in other tiles. Other people then have access to use it. So it's a pretty good way of bringing in any custom data. And like I said, that does generally apply to a lot of our plugins. Anything query-based, things like the SQL plugin, any database plugins, things like Splunk, Prometheus, anywhere where you'd usually interact with your data using a custom query. These configurable data streams are what let you sort of bring them in. And in fact, there's the Prometheus one just as an example there. So yeah, adding the data stream is very, very quick and easy. You can make it as specific as you like and then use Either return exactly the data you want or make it quite broad like I have, and then use SquaredUp's own features to average things, to group things together, that kind of stuff. But that's it. That's all I wanted to share on that dashboard. As always, you can get more information about this plugin and many others, as well as more videos like this walking you through quite a few of our out-of-box dashboards and plugins from our dashboard gallery. So just head over to squaredup.com/dashboard gallery to find those. And if you have any questions about the dashboards, about the plugins, about the product, or even just general questions like how do I make a KQL query to show me my requests per hour, whatever the question is, you'll find somebody who can help you at SquaredUp's community answers. That's community.squaredup.com. More than 3,000 members there now. Plenty of questions being asked and answered every day, so jump in and ask your questions too. But that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.